Welcome to Clamp, the weekly podcast where we discuss all things related to creating, living, and making projects. I'm your host, Grant Alexander. Joining me as always is Adam Mackey. Unfortunately, Jesse cannot join us this week, but luckily we have a special guest. You might know him from his Thursday Night Live videos where he's pixelated, or because he's a mainstay in the Blackthorn, New York, where he is not pixelated. I know him because mainly he taught me welding, but it's, whether it's fabrication, machining, restoring old tools, or pretending he's a carpenter, or just being short. As long as it's in Massachusetts, he's got it made. It's Lucas from Handmade and MA. Welcome to the podcast.
That's it.
That's just the introduction of the...
I'll never do another podcast with anyone else. That's it. It'll never be better than that.
Well, I'm glad. So for our listeners who, from all that, didn't get what you do, why don't you we'll give you a little extra time because I feel like I threw a couple cheap shots in there. Why don't you take a whole 60 seconds and tell everyone what you do?
I do still pretend to be a carpenter. My background's in carpentry, and that's what I do for a day job, part of my day job. And aside from that, when I come home and come to my shop, I do a lot of, fabrication. So general metal fab, welding, machining, and my passion, which turned into a little bit of that side job, is restoration and repair work on old machinery from 30s to 60s, not so much into the 70s because they found out about sheet metal back then. But back in the cast iron days. So that's turned into a little bit more than a hobby, and so I'm just seeing where it goes.
I love how you're like, I'm a fabricator. I love restoring old tools, and as soon as they started making sheet metal, I'm out.
There's it's kind of like the paradox of, as soon as they started making the stuff that I work with all the time, I lose interest immediately.
I 100% agree with that. So we wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about like old tools and what they mean and what it means to restore them and why you would restore them. And just kind of have a pretty open conversation about that, because I love my old tools. I have like my table saw. It's from my grandfather. It's a Craftsman 113. I have my Shopsmith from my dad, which is an 80s tool, which you may not enjoy, but I think there's a lot to say about Shopsmith for what it is.
Yes, and I have one, so I can weigh in on that when we get to that stage of the show.
All right. And I have like a 1930s like metal/woodworking Delta Milwaukee bandsaw, and it's like the if someone wants to take a picture of me in my shop, I stand next to the bandsaw, right? Despite the table saw having way more meaning to me, it's the tool that I stand next to. I don't know why it is.
Right? No, that is the tool. Yeah,
right. I have a like 1940s lathe. I've got a really cool CNC milling machine. Like metal milling machine, I'm not going to stand next to it. It's not the picture I'm going to take next to. It's going to be so there's something about old tools,
iconic,
that have exactly iconic. So what is it about old tools that has drawn you in, and what would you say to draw others into it?
I think for me, it not only was the design. Like the design in purpose and the function and the mechanics of it, but the actual fact that aesthetics mattered seemingly more. Aesthetics carried more weight, I think, than they do now. And the fact that somebody took the time to, when designing the tool, consider that and add, let's cast in some nice Art Deco, lines and details, and all of that was taken into account. It wasn't, like a sticker they put on after. And I think that, back then in that 30s to 60s kind of time frame too, there were hands on those tools when they were being made. They were made by the same kind of people that would ultimately use them.
So I don't know this for a fact, but is there some sort of selection bias about the ones that are sought after today are because they were the top end, like there was a little more effort put into those tools? Because I know today I can go and get a fucking Ryobi table saw.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can also go get like a saw stop. Like, and I think a saw stop in 30 years is still going to be worth something, and the Ryobi is going to be not,
No,
right?
there's definitely, absolutely. I mean, think about your bandsaw, right?
Yeah.
And I have the same one, the gearbox one.
Yeah.
And that model, the reason that is sort of the iconic, the one, like if you're going to say, hey, pick out an old Delta bandsaw or just an old bandsaw, that's the
Right.
one.
That's the
And
one.
that was the top tier, especially if you have the cast iron base, especially if you have the
I
retirement
wish I
light.
did.
Me
Yeah.
too. But that was the tool to have, and if you had that, you'd made it,
Right.
and it's still, I think some of that still carries weight. Some of that, the fact that
So
it was the top of the line.
was there cheaper ones out there that we just we're not seeing?
Sure.
Right. So are we like
getting lost.
romanticizing the selection bias? The like
Probably
only the good ones survived.
There's definitely some romance to this.
Okay.
And the idea of like you could have a bandsaw from the 30s that its entire life was spent in, this one family's garage, and it got used a half a dozen times, and it has no story. It just sat. But
Right.
if you don't know the story and you just find this, there's definitely that, yeah, you do kind of romanticize it, right? Like, what's this been through, right?
I feel like on that too, like the romanticizing of brands is still there as well.
Yes.
Like there are people that want to get all the Stanley planes, or I don't really know any other old brands, to be honest. Like I'm not really that much into old tools. Like I have a drawer full of tools which I'll get out soon and show you. But it's all these old planes and everything that I have to restore.
Yeah, no, there's so much brand awareness, brand recognition, brand, affinities for brands, and just like that, like Stanley. There are people that have to have every single one, maybe multiples, but every
yeah.
Right. And I'm not a hand tool guy. I don't know. I know Stanley makes planes with numbers. I don't know.
Too. I know about it. I have a 4 and a 7, and I only know it stamped on the sole of the the plane. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you.
Right, and I don't know what they do or what the differences are, and that's fine with me. I don't.
The bigger the number, the longer it is. That's what I've determined.
That's a good
number is the length. I know that.
Yeah. But I there are people I can ask that of, but yeah, there are definitely, you got to have that. Or there are people I know that will only have vintage Delta tools from the 40s in their shop. Right. Or they'll only run Walker Turners because they're from Jersey and Walker Turner's from Jersey. I'm not talking about Keith. But
see that's
because I think you're talking about Austin, and because he's like Walker Turner's the shit, and he's from Virginia. He shouldn't.
That to me is a weird thing. Like people that are, sorry, beer had a bone in it. The people that have like a love for a brand because it's from the same place as them. Like you don't care about if the brand's good or not. You just care about where it was made.
I will speak to that a little bit because I have
made in
but there are a few. So there were a handful of machine companies around in Massachusetts, but none of them were iconic or none of them were as well known as like Delta, Walker Turner, Cincinnati, whatever. But with Vices, there were Starrett and Athol that were made in Massachusetts, right in Western Mass, like right around where I went to college. And they happen to be very quality, very well known, renowned Vices. But that is second to the fact that they were made, an hour from where I am right now.
Right.
And I think that's cool. And it just is great that it happens to be a quality piece. Like if it was a piece of junk, but it was made an hour away, I'd be like, this is a crisis for me. Like I want to like it, but it's junk. It just happens to be
With that, before, unless you got something to say, Adam. Apparently not. So with
my
that,
internet cut out. Sorry.
So with that, I want to I like Shopsmith because when I was a kid, my dad had a Shopsmith, and we made a lot of things on it, and we had limited garage space. Well, we didn't have limited garage space; it was filled with fucking crap. Right, right. Like we didn't have, technically speaking, didn't have limited garage space, but we had limited garage space in that. If you wanted to use all of the tools, the functions of what he had, you had to pull this machine out, make a little space, pull the machine out, use it, and then put it away. And the Shopsmith was great at being all the different things that it is. Right, it's 5-in-1. I really like. They say 5-in-1. I want to say it's really like a 4-in-1 because the horizontal drilling machine. Not a single person I know owns one of those. Okay, I would say. I've used the horizontal drilling machine. It's fucking awesome when I want to use it, but it's not a thing I would purposely buy otherwise.
And it's so funny because when you try and explain to people the 5 things and then you end with that and they're like, really?
Yeah.
Sure.
Really. But when you want to drill a whole bunch of dowels, it's fucking awesome.
Right. Correct.
Totally. It's great for that. However, you would not buy a purpose-built machine for that. You would you would buy a 12-inch disc sander if you could.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's great because
that's such a fantastic tool, and it's funny you say that because I have a Shopsmith with that attachment, and I still spent like 2 years looking for a 12-inch disc sander and finally found the one I wanted and bought it because I was like, well, I'll use that for something else. But there was a time when I had, limited tools and limited space, and the Shopsmith was given to me by a friend whose grandfather had bought it new in 1948, and it was it had
it's
been
a 10ER.
It's the Magma, the real Magna. But it had just been sitting, and everything was there, everything worked, and I used it for a while because I wanted a lathe, but I didn't have a lathe. I wanted a big disc sander, didn't have one of those. I had a drill press, but I used it for those functions, and it's a fantastic lathe for what it is.
Yeah,
it's just a big old great wood lathe, but it was a fantastic way for me to have more things than I ever had room for. And and then when I got those tools, when I got a bigger shop space and had all that, then I took it all apart and did the full nut and bolt resto mod that I had always wanted to do. Put it all back together. It's beautiful. And then abruptly put it in storage because I was like, what am I doing with this now?
Right. If I had a spare Shopsmith, it would be a drill press. And that would be all it is.
Yeah.
It is, or a lathe, which all I use mine for is a lathe. But if I had a full dedicated lathe, wood lathe, it would become my drill press, and that would be it. It would be done.
Yeah, that's
It'd be a drill press.
Ray Rossiter Designs, Ray, who is one of our co-hosts on the live. He got a shop. He picked up a Shopsmith actually right up near me a couple years ago because him and his dad had used to turn stuff together on the lathe, and he thought it'd be a fun thing to do again, and so he brought it home and they used it nonstop. And I think that's a similar story to yours with, you used to use it when you were younger. And I think with a Shopsmith, even more so than other tools, I think that story is a common one.
Yeah. I think the people who had a Shopsmith, and they were the people who wanted to have fun with a tool.
Yes.
No one is going to, no one is buying a Shopsmith for their business to become popping out like no one's production with a shopsmith. The shopsmith's
Although I'd like to see that.
yeah, totally.
A whole fleet of shopsmiths in a production environment.
You know what? Actually, if you go to the shopsmith, they actually use shopsmiths to produce shopsmiths. If you can believe that.
That is actually oddly believable to me. Like that sort of checks out. Yeah.
Right. But no, like, because the headstock is just like, if you mount it, it's all, and you do it as a surf, like whatever it is, it's just a motor, right?
Right.
So, Lucas, before our technical difficulties, we're talking about shopsmiths and how they're a hobby machine. And you would love to see someone doing production of hobby. And I said, if you go to the shopsmith factory, apparently they're using headstocks to actually make shopsmiths.
Which is the most, seems to be the most appropriate. That seems I feel like that's the only way you can make a shopsmith is with another one. But,
right.
Of course, that begs the question.
Right. Well, which came first, the shopsmith or the shopsmith?
I don't know, but if you've any of those early ones, I think it kind of answers itself.
Yeah. But so in terms of like other, I think the shops like memories and stories are what make machines worth something. So even if it is a 1980s stamp steel like Chinese knockoff or Taiwanese knockoff machine, because 1980s is
right,
whatever. It still means something if it has a story. And so this is where like I recently picked up a metal lathe, and it's like a really small metal lathe, but it's a 6x18 or something. Like it's got a 6-inch swing, but
hey,
good luck. Good luck on that 6-inch. That 6 inches of paper. Good luck. Right. So, but a lot of people on the internet are like, those are garbage. I'm like, it's not garbage if it's got a machine. Like it's got a story behind it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I picked it up from a family that told me the story of like why they had it, and it meant something to them to like give it to someone who's going to use it. And
I think there's also that is a very, very key part because it's also it may have been the start of a journey for them, and they're passing that on to you as the start of a journey for you.
Right, like the people I got it off of, the father now has dementia, and he's now in a home. And they're like, they cleared out everything of his shop, and he apparently bought it like new.
Yeah.
And now has like, it is just like he's used it for years upon years upon for whatever shit around the farm a little lathe would do, which makes sense. That's a perfect hobby. Like, I don't need to go to a machine shop to fix my shit. I can do it here. And that's what I love. That's why I have it. I don't have it. Like, I'm not buying shit to like, I love old tools because you're using them not for producing something,
right,
but producing stories.
Yeah.
Yes. I maybe this speaks to the kind of person I am, but I have no care about the backstory.
That makes sense with her Ryobi user, but
like my drawer tools that I talked about, half of the ones there are from my granddad. I don't care that they're from my granddad. All I care is that they're old tools and they need to be restored. Like I have no heart, no attachment to because of its story.
So I have a question. Then. When you were young, did you have memories or stories of?
No.
So that I think that sort of tracks. And like for me and my grandfather, we he was really one of the first people that put like a wrench and a hammer in my hand and was like, this is a wrench, this is a hammer, this is what they do, and and he was really one of the first people to do that and do projects with me and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. He would come up with the idea and he would get all the pieces and all the little things we'd make this. And so because I had those memories and this is where I'm at now in my life, I think that's why I have some of his tools, not because they were tools that I needed or particularly wanted, but because they were tools that I have memories with him when I was younger. And I think because of that, I am more prone to put stock in the backstory of something.
Right.
Than
That makes a
without
lot of
those.
sense.
Yeah.
I want to put peanut butter jars filled with like screws, like where you could screw them to the bottom of a shelf because
And I
of my
don't know why.
grandfather.
Yeah, like you
Right.
have this like I need to do this. This is how I do it. You know,
And I look
there's
at
no
like
other way.
Jackman has it. I'm like, it's not a good system.
No,
It's just the system that my grandfather had, and apparently lots of other grandfathers had.
Yeah.
Right? And I go, no, there's better systems today. I have it. Right? But I want to do it because that's what my grandfather did.
I wonder if part of that is to do with like the whole social media and stuff as well. Like maybe not in your case as per se, but more of like me, I don't want to do that because it looks ugly and it doesn't function well. Whereas they just like before social media just did what they needed to do to fit what they needed.
Yeah, that's a good point. There was a lot more. It's fine before social media.
It's so funny because it contrasts so much with how beautiful the tools were, with how shitty the tool storage solutions were. Right. Like you just had random peanut butter, like didn't matter. There's 15 different peanut butter jars. They all look different. They're just screwed up like onto the bottom of the thing.
And the worst is every single one of them is miscellaneous screws. It's not even organized. They're just all loose screws. Like,
my wife is notorious for like because she grew up like her stepdad was like that. Everything was kept in little jars and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And every time we have an empty jar, hey, do you want this for the garage? No, I don't want that for the. Why would I want that for the garage? Like that's not helpful at all. But to her, she grew up seeing that and thinks that's what's the normal thing for a workshop or a garage.
Yeah. And it is like without fail, every every shop or every basement or every garage that I've gone into to buy something or to do a clean out or whatever, take all the machines or tools and without fail, they're the jars. I've never been to one without at least like a half dozen.
Right.
And it's amazing because no one says to you, oh, hey, there's going to be jars in all these shops. And no one said like, it's just, you're like, yeah, it's the way it's, of course. You don't question it.
As soon as you've been to two, you go, well, that's how it is.
That's what you do. Yeah. I fully expect in 50 years that there will be jars with no explanation like in my shop. And that's just that's how it works.
Interesting. Because I think in 50 years, instead of jars, there's going to be like those like Plano toolbox. like pretend you're organized, but you're really not.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's replaced all the things for me.
It's so funny because I've talked about it a few times, but like I've been going through this 3D print phase of trying to organize all my drawers and everything. So like in my drawers, I have little like square tubs and they're separate for like each individual thing. Like M6 screws go in here, M8 screws go in or bolts go in here and the nuts for them and stuff. I'll go over to my stepdad's house and say, oh, hey, like, do you have a bolt that fits this? Because I don't have it. And he has to scrounge through a massive tub of random shit to try and find what he needs.
But he probably has it. And you probably put that one in the garbage because you went, I'm not going to make a drawer for this one single bolt.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the danger. Like I have similar. It's like I have like a hybrid of both of those in a sense that I've got. I'm sure you're both your local hardware stores or whatever. They've got all the pull-out drawers of all the nuts and bolts, right? And and I have a lot of those, and a lot of them are dedicated to like what's supposed to be in there, the nuts, the bolts, a certain range of sizes and everything. And then I have smaller drawers that are just small screws, big screws, small bolts, big bolts. And it's just, it's like whatever goes in there. And yeah, I might have to scrounge a little bit, but like if I have 2 different length quarter 20 bolts with a weird head on them that don't match anything else, they go in that drawer because I'll probably need them. And
Okay.
inevitably I do. And then I get mad at myself for not having multiples of each of these things. I'm like, well, I needed them, so why don't I have them in their own drawer?
It's a funny thing. So I recently went through like my tubs up the back there to try and clear out because I needed to get an empty tub. And in one of them, I had some Meccano. You guys know what Meccano is?
Yep.
I don't.
So it's like
Lego.
Sort of like Lego,
Right,
but with metal
yeah.
pieces with nuts and bolts. Yeah. And I went to throw them out because I'm like, they're just sitting in a tub. I have no use for them. I'm just hoarding them. I'll just throw them out. And then as I'm driving to work, because I was going to put them in the dumpster at work, I'm like, why don't I pull these apart and keep all the bolts? Like there was literally, but like you laugh and it's so stupid, but there was literally like 1,000 nuts and bolts of all the same. Why would I throw them out? I may as well keep it. And I ended up keeping all the metal plates as well because I'm like, the amount of times I have looked for like a little plate that has 2 holes in it just to screw something together.
Right.
Like,
and this is, and then you've activated hoarder mode, and you're good to go.
Exactly.
That it's just funny, like the hardware hoarder. We so like in my day job, I am technically employed by a gentleman that owns a small chain of Ace Hardware stores. So like I've been in directly and indirectly, I've been in the hardware industry for the last 12 years. And that is exactly what we all self-identify as, because anytime, we do a reset in one of the stores and it's like the nuts and bolts department, it's like, well, clearly I'm going to need to find room for, 24 drawer units full of miscellaneous leftover metric that I don't use because all I work on is old American machinery, but I could probably, you never know. And that's how I ended up with like a 6-foot stack of metric, moving it around my shop for the last year until it tipped over one day. And I said, the day it tipped over was the day it left. Like it tipped over and I was like, there's no chance I am resorting all of this. I shoveled it into a bucket. No, someone did, because I gave it to a friend of mine who he was going to just put it in. He has bucket systems, but he's slowly sorting it out.
I've spent an entire day. So I work on a race team. We take apart BMWs, and they obviously metric. And we have our system is like small and large, and that's it. This is what we do. We decide what is small, what is large. We decide. Whenever you're putting a bolt away, whether or not you think it's small or large, it's whatever you thought that day. So there are some that like intermingle, right? For sure. But one day I went through them all. Not only did I like sort them by like their size, I ran them all through a tap and die depending on what I was sorting. So I just had taps and dies set up in vices, and with a fucking gun, just clean the threads. Because I was like, "There's nothing worse than you need that thing and you don't have time because it's a race car and you're in between. Like you need that bolt right now. I need it now." And then you try and put it in, and it's like, fucking cross-threading everything, and it doesn't work, and you're just like, fuck it. So I spent a day going through and just cleaning up all the threads and separating them all.
It's funny.
We've also had a time where it fucking fell all over, and I was just like, I'm fucking done. I will never do it again. It's over. It's done. So I'd like a bucket.
It's funny you say that because, so watching heaps of people that build motorbikes and stuff, right? They always say that they get a tap and die and they like go through all the holes and everything and clean everything up before they put the bike back together. I have gone and bought a tap and die set specifically for that need, but I never thought of actually cleaning up all the threads ahead of time. Like I'd be like, I'll just clean it up when I need it.
Yeah.
Honestly, neither have I. I always just do it as I go. And like I'm thinking about it as you say that, and I have like right here next to me, I have like pieces and parts that I'm working on right now that are all cleaned and ready to go, and I'm looking at them like, yeah, like I could definitely clean up the threads on these, now. What an immense time saver that would be just in like reassembling.
Yeah. Well, everything
Problem
goes
is
to
that
be
now-
so much
odds of me
nicer.
doing it are slim, but
Grant's
it's
put
really
this
good.
thought into our heads now. Like I'm
You have to have
I'm one
a
of those
setup.
AC. I went to say ACDC. I'm one of those ADD people where like I'll walk into the garage to put something down, and next thing I know, it's half an hour later, and I've been
And
cleaning.
guess what? That's
I'm
what
now going to
happens.
see a thing of bolts. Yeah, I'm going to see a thing of bolts and go, you know what? I'm going to clean all these fucking threads.
Yeah.
No one on the race team gave a flying fuck that I did this.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Did they even
single
know
person.
that you did that?
Probably not.
No, no, they didn't. Because I spent a whole day like on my own. I just did it. I was like, I'm fucking tired of this bullshit. I'm
But you know
doing
what?
it today.
The next time that they were running those nuts and bolts in and out,
Yeah.
and subconsciously they're like, "Geez, this is going great today." Like this,
Yes.
I'm having a great day.
Right. Fuck. Not a single one of these fuckers got stuck. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're over there like just grinning, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, because I'm too busy fucking like doing like this was like years ago. So I'm so fucking like 30 thought processes beyond that going, why the fuck is this one fucked up now? But so we had one thought that I wanted to talk about is painting or enameling or japanning or anything like that. I wanted to talk to you about that because it's something that I think is a very important thing for people to understand when to do it with old tools, when not to do it with old tools, and fuck it, do whatever the fuck you want with old tools.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what your thoughts are.
It really depends on my mood
Okay.
that day. I feel like that's the most honest answer I can give you. I've definitely, done restorations on stuff with a can of spray paint. And and then there's stuff like the Bridgeport that 207 days later is a brand new machine again. But I think it's, for me, when I'm thinking about the paint or the finish or any of that, it really, the first question I ask myself, really the only question I ask myself is what is my intent with this machine, or this tool?
Right.
Is it for me to keep forever? Is it for me to keep and use for a while, or is it a flip? And if it's a flip, I'm liable to just give it a full mechanical go through, but just clean the existing paint and get rid of the rust and leave here's the trigger word, leave the patina on it. If it's something that I'm going to keep.
That makes so much sense because I was looking for a lathe for a long time and I probably found like one that was a little bit too small, but I would send ones to Austin from High Caliber Craftsman. I was like, what do you think of this one? He's like, you can see the overspray where they fucking painted it. Right? Like They didn't even they clearly just repainted it. It's sitting on the stand with the overspray.
Right. That's my favorite thing to see. But yes, that's immediately just for me. That's immediately like, unless it's a vice. If it's a machine, I gotta just, unless you're giving it to me, and even then I'll be a little. It's
gonna be cheap.
But it's not. It could be a beautiful, beautiful machine under it, but the person that does that, I am concerned about it.
Right. Because immediately you're thinking, why would you be painting this old machine with this and then immediately selling it? Right. I can see why you paint it for yourself. That's great. Like if I got a lathe that I really cared about, I paint it orange. It's my machine. Go fuck yourself if you don't like orange. Right? If I was Keith, I'd paint it green. Yeah. Right? But I'm not. Right? Because I've better taste than that.
Yeah.
But so your issue is the painting and selling straight away? Because I'm wondering what's the difference between someone painting it and then you painting it?
No, correct. It's not the painting and selling. It's the apparent rush spray paint, rattle can paint job, and take a picture and sell. It's like, what rust is on there? What cracks are you trying to hide? It's to me, it screams like, I just got this. I stole it or I got it in an auction or whatever. Look, brand new paint for sale.
Right.
It gives me bad vibes. But I would rather buy something that's unpainted and then paint it myself because I'm gonna
I would probably
take
pay
it
the same
down.
amount of money.
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
something.
Yeah. I could give a shit if there's good paint or bad paint. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Right.
Unless it's a turquoise grinder, and then I feel like I have to have it. It's just such a cool, like that old turquoise color. I got a thing for it. It's just cool.
That was what color this bike was meant to be, white and turquoise. But it's a cheap bike, and I wanted to save the color for a nice bike.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something you'll never afford. Great. But you know what else we can't afford?
Thanks for the fucking vote in confidence.
Jesus.
Come on. But you know what else we can't afford? We can't afford to do this show without Patreon supporters. Okay, I was trying to segue here, but you ruined it. But I especially want to thank...
The segue is you having a go at me every week for not putting my hand up, and then every time I put my hand up tonight, you just fucking move on.
I want to especially thank our level supporters: Scott from Daddy Yourself DIY, Joe Herdina, Rich from Lowen Designs, David Wood from DW Wood Builds, Brad from I'm Gonna Make, and Chad from Chad's Customs Creations. I want to thank every one of them, and especially everyone else who supports the show, no matter what level you support it at. If you feel like you got $1 out of this episode, which I think is just our banter between me and Adam, is worth $1. But
this is my favorite so far.
But otherwise you can go to patreon.com/clamp. You get access to a pre-show, an after show, and also a Discord hangout every month, and a keychain made by yours truly. Just go to patreon.com/clamp and support us there. If you can't support us financially, we completely understand. And if you would like to support us by sharing the show or writing a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And now, CLAMPmendations.
CLAMPmendations.
There you go. It's a live CLAMPmendations that you hear there. But do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
I am just pulling up my CLAMPmendation here.
All right. We can wait for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to go last then.
Okay. I'll go second.
No, that's not a possibility.
Okay, I'll go right now. My CLAMPmendation is a gentleman named Josh Woodward, whose Instagram is double_amp_WWS. And he's this guy I came across who's a double amputee and is a welder fabricator.
Now, Grant.
Yeah.
Well, how do you find that thing? Double underscore what?
No, there's a lot to it. But he's someone. I think Adam, Uncle Sam, pointed me to him. But
okay,
he's a double amputee and is a welder fabricator and does like really cool sculptural art and all that. And it's pretty kick-ass to watch him do everything that I do, but like
double. When you said double underscore, I thought you had put double like underscore twice.
Oh no, the word double. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, how do you find someone with double underscore? Who makes their thing underscore?
No,
but now it's double amputee. Oh,
yes. Yeah. It's very impressive. Yeah.
I have to ask. He makes sculptures. What is amputated? Because if he does it with his feet, that's more impressive.
No, he's missing one half arm and one leg. He's one-sided. Most, with that. God, that's
diagonal.
Yeah, but it's the stuff he does is pretty impressive. And like I'm looking at it and I'm watching him weld and I'm watching him like do things like change a spool of wire. Or like I can barely do it with two hands some days. I feel like
those people are
really
always so inspiring. And if you ever feel if there's everyone who says, "Oh, I can't do that," I just want to go, "You're a fucking idiot." Like, like if you cannot find a way to do that as an able-bodied, like 100%, like
Yeah.
person. Like, grow up, get a life. You can do it.
Yes.
Like,
And
My
it's definitely it's motivational at the very basic level. Like
yeah,
you can't see a picture or video of him working and not be like, like feel like you're rearing to go.
yeah.
my neighbor lost her hand about halfway up her wrist, sort of got cut off. And I've driven her car a couple of times, and it is so weird because it's been adapted to having only one hand. So like all the controls to like change gears and stuff is on the steering wheel and stuff.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
a remote control. Yeah, it's crazy, but like it's insane the amount of things I see her do.
Yeah.
Like the way she's learnt to adapt to having one hand.
Yeah.
Right. And like 3D printing has changed the landscape so much when it
Watch them
comes
spin
to
her
adapting
hand.
things. And it only like not even like just the ability for them to prototype something to test it to see whether or not they want to
Yeah.
make it out of something more durable than plastic, right?
Right.
And so that they can do something like the people who play video, like I've seen people playing video games now which they would never have been able to do because they have made adaptations to the controller based on
Yeah.
3D printing, and then even
Yeah.
from that, they then take it make it of metal or whatever, so that it doesn't
Right.
wear out like when you lose a battle and throw your controller, which we all do, right?
Yeah. Everyone does that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone does that. So you don't want to ruin your controller immediately. And if you've 3D printed anything, you realize if you drop it sideways, it stops working. So it is awesome to see. I've already followed him, so it's double the word.
Yes.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Double the word.
Or like a double underscore. Okay, underscore. I couldn't find the person.
That's a pretty that would be a real power move for anyone out there that's looking to change it up with their handle. Just go with the double underscores.
Yeah, to start.
Probably make it easier for people to find you.
Yeah, it's just double underscore. So Adam, what do you got to recommend?
My recommendation this week is a Netflix show called Mindhunter, and it's kind of like a when the FBI first started doing behavioral analysis and stuff like Criminal Minds, but all of the people, like all of the criminals in the show, are real serial. Like it's not the real serial killers, but it's real serial killers. So each crime that they are searching for is of real things that have happened.
That's cool.
I think it's really, really cool. Yeah.
I have seen that pop up when I had Netflix. It was popping up all the time. Like, you would like this, and I was like, I think I might, but I'm not committing to anything new. Thank you.
Same. I was like, yeah, it looks all right, but whatever. But then I was listening to Psychopedia, and she was saying like it's the only show she's ever watched twice, and they were talking. She was talking about how much the show was in line with the actual story of the killer, and I was like, oh, it's actually real killers, and that's what made me want to watch it. And it's really good.
I just put it on my list.
It's good.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but
Yeah, I do love that how Netflix is like, I think, like you said, I think you'll like this, and you're like, damn it, you're right. But I can't commit yet,
Yeah.
I need someone to say this one's really a good one, and then I will commit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to recommend everyone check out Stumpy Nubs. He recently put out a video about the most dangerous tool in the shop. What that was a fine video, whatever. But it was like the video I actually enjoyed more was like him responding to the comments about like the ridiculous things, like they're saying like, oh, you shouldn't touch a grinder disc while it's plugged in, while he's holding a cordless tool without a fucking battery in it, right? Like why would you call him out on watch? Like, I don't understand. Like, you just watch the video. He's clearly, it's not plugged in. It's not even one that can be plugged in, and it doesn't have the battery. Like, I don't understand. Like, this kind of shit. And he's talking like that's not even the danger of a cordless grinder. It has everything to do with like attaching it to a ridiculous like machine like a fucking chainsaw adapter for a cordless grinder. Like, it's stupid. Like, you shouldn't do it. And he's like, yeah, that's what makes it extra dangerous.
I have to, going by the name, did you both just pick amputees for your...
I don't know if he is an amputee or not. He could be.
Right.
He could. I don't know. He has both his thumbs. That's all I know.
That, yeah, right? I don't know.
He could, like, Stumpy
I feel
Dubs
like we
could
should
just
know this. But
I feel like but you know what? That actually says a lot. No, we don't.
It's clearly not something... Well, it's the whole...
most of his
Nerdforge
content
thing,
is...
like,
yeah.
Nerdforge has missed her pinky for the last 3 years or whatever, and no one ever noticed until she made a video on replacing it with 3D printing.
Right.
It's some things you just don't notice.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. Anyways, I could definitely see how someone from that name could think he has missing fingers.
If it's not that, what is the name?
Yeah, what is it if it's not?
Because that name makes no other sense.
That you can think of, but
I guess that's true. I suppose, yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
right. I don't know. I don't think I've ever listened to the times where he wasn't talking about something I cared about. But I don't think I've seen like a video where he was like, "This is why I got my name." Like, he doesn't have an intro video. If he does, I haven't watched it, and he doesn't listen to the podcast. So, but if you do, I'm sorry. But if you want to explain why it came from, shoot us a message over on the Clampcast. And now ask us anything.
To click that, but we're doing Ask Us Anything.
So we got a message on our Clampcast, and it is a message from NH Nature 67, and the question is: how does the weather affect your making? Does it make you not want to go put in the workshop? I think Adam wrote this. Going into the workshop for temperature reasons, or maybe the darker night makes your mood lower and less likely to create. Right. And I wanted to ask this when Jesse was on, because I had a conversation with NH Nature, and he said that Jesse would just say, "I live in an office, so it's great," but and that's her exact voice, as you could clearly tell. But I wondered, we had an entire episode about this, but it's been like 2 years since we had it. So,
yeah. And different
Lucas,
hosts.
Yeah, and Lucas, what do you think? What how does the weather affect you, and how does the like daylight savings, because it's a obviously relevant bullshit thing that just happened?
Yes, minimally. I don't have to go. I don't have to go outside to go to my shop. I just go downstairs. In the summer, it's cool down here because it's a basement, and in the winter, it's warm because the heating system is down here that heats the house, so it's warm. So it's kind of a temperate climate, so it doesn't really affect much. I do have some windows, but I have so many shop lights in here that I don't even really notice if it's bright or night out there. So the only thing that it does impact is the picking and hauling ability of machinery. It's less fun it's also way less fun to load and unload machinery in the dark, cold snow.
Yeah. I could not imagine like grabbing onto a giant piece of cast iron that in the middle of winter and like trying to get it like on, like just grabbing it and
it's very
then wanting to lick it for some reason.
Yeah. Well, you got to try it. Everyone's got to try it.
Right. Then your tongue gets stuck to it and you're like, fuck, what am I going to do again?
I guess that's a real bargaining chip. If you can't come to an agreement on price, stick your tongue to it, and then you have to take it home.
Well, it sounds like a bad idea. Like,
you better
that's only gotta go. There's two different people like bidding on it, and you're like, no, I'm taking this one home no matter what.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, I think if you stick your tongue to something, you just go, well, I'll pay you anything because I can't leave it now. I think that was the worst advice that's ever happened on this podcast.
Try it. It'll work great.
Okay. So
next person that comes to buy something here, we'll try it.
Right. Oh, you're trying to tell people to do it to come to buy shit from you. You know what's so frustrating? When you post stuff up for sale, I'm like, yeah, I could buy that. You post up and you sometimes put a price. I'm like, Yeah, that's very reasonable. I could definitely buy that. You're like local pickup only.
Hey,
You're
listen,
like,
if I'll put it on a pallet and send it. Don't tempt me.
no, you always say local pickup only. And I'm
I'll
like,
put it on a pallet. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I have the best setup. I just bring it to work. I put it in my truck. I bring it to work, and then I can move it around with the forklift, palletize it all proper, and send it out on a truck.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Oh yeah.
Good to
We'll
know.
talk.
So even if
What
you
if
say
the-
local pickup only, next time I'm gonna say no. You're not.
Slide
You're
right
doing
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll say how much it costs, and I go, "Fuck that." That's why it's local pickup only. What do you think, Adam?
It depends on what I'm trying to do. I do a lot of stuff outside or temperature dependent. Like if I'm painting, I'm not going to be painting when it's cold
Yeah.
and wet. And yesterday, I've been extending our cubby house. I'm not going to do that in the rain. But if I'm just like tinkering in the garage, then it doesn't affect me at all.
See, so I will say that my space is 150% affected by the weather. I don't want to go out there when it's hot. I don't want to go out there when it's cold. And there's a sweet spot where I fucking love living in my garage, right? And unfortunately, that sweet spot, like, I don't know what it was about this year, but it went from like 40 degrees Celsius to like 0, which is like 104 to 32, or what do you guys want to say in your freedom units? It like that is what it did this year. It was like every day was 100, and then all of a sudden it was fucking like freezing cold, and I lost that. Like my sweet spot is 10 degrees Celsius, which is probably like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Love those.
I'm
That
with you.
temperature is amazing.
It is perfect. But yeah, we really didn't have what felt like a fall this year here. And the entire summer it just rained. So
Yeah.
rain's a bummer. Rain's a bummer just because I'd rather go pick up something in the cold snow dark than beautiful temperature summer, but rain. Rain's the worst.
Rain is the worst.
Rain is the
Because
worst.
it's so fucking weird. Because every single day, you're like, I would like to stand underneath the rain and wash myself. And you have a rain thing in your house.
Yep.
That rains
and we
down
do it.
on you. And then,
But
I can't get. But as soon as I put clothing on, I'm like, fuck you. Get away from me, rain.
Yeah. It's just the worst.
I love the rain. I'm the opposite.
Backwards Australians.
No, it's not. It's not that because a lot of people here hate the rain. I love a cold, wet day where you can just lay on the couch and watch a movie. Even if I'm at work,
okay.
I enjoy it.
Well, if you're not outside, yeah, the rain's great.
Okay. Yes.
Well, if I'm at work though, I'm getting wet because every station I'm hanging out the train as we depart. Like I'm going like 40 k's an hour with the rain pelting down on me, but I still enjoy it.
I get that.
I guess I don't mind. Like even if we think about like Maker Camp and how much rain there was,
Yes,
I
wouldn't like that.
I enjoyed it. I did not mind it because I did not have wet feet and I did not have a wet body. Like I had a rain jacket, like I had everything to protect me. If I was like I watched like Chris Powell full team designs with his fucking chucks, they were like 100%. Like he just looked fucking miserable.
And Keith had to give him boots to wear.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. But
and
like Adam, you said you wouldn't like that, but I think like Grant and I were there. If you said to somebody who didn't go or wasn't there or whatever, if you said, "Tell me what you think this is gonna like," tell me what you think of monsoon level rain in the mud and it's cold and there's like tons of people and there's like hay everywhere and the people would be like, "That sounds horrible," But like to be there and have the presence of everyone there all dealing with the same thing at the same time, you didn't hate it. It was like a weird magic trick. Everyone was like, "This is fine."
Yeah, this is fine.
This is totally
this
fine.
is fine and there was a fire. It was like, this is fine and there's a rain cloud.
Yeah.
I can't. No, that's the next T-shirt. I now have said it, so now they'll do it. All right.
Just
But,
bleep the section out. Yeah.
You've also got to keep in mind that I come from the mindset of like back when I was really fat, and I still have like body issues now, but I come from the mindset of like I prefer the cold because I can put clothes on. I don't want to take clothes off. I'm not a person to walk around in no shirt. No one wants to see me without my clothes on. But I can pile on the shirt, the clothes, and get warm. So I much prefer cold, wet weather.
Well, imagine taking what you have and then adding shortness to it. And now you got me.
Hi.
And then if you want to add some back hair, I'm good there for that too. But
I got that. Don't worry about that.
All right. Well, with that note, I want to thank TF Turning for the theme song. It has nothing to do with back hair, but that's where we're going. I want to thank Lucas for coming on.
Episode.
Yeah. Hey, Lucas, you want to tell everyone where they can find you if they don't already know who you are and they're not already following you?
Yep. Man-made in MA, man with 2 N's, MANN. That's a family name. And that's on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all the places.
All the places.
Yeah. Primarily Instagram, then YouTube, then the others. But yeah, I'm there.
Soon to be renamed with a double underscore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just double underscore man-made.
MANN. Yeah.
Everything doubled up. But thanks for coming on, Lucas.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. If you guys want to hear a little more, we're going to go into the after show. If you want to find us, you can find us on Clampcast everywhere. And thanks for coming on. We'll see you next week.
Bye.